I'm hoping I can find a way to explain this. I just kind of had this sort of epiphany or whatever, or this feeling, and I hope I can describe it correctly. And I mean, it's kind of strange, you know, but I think it's basically what's wrong with the world today. How we're being taken down, how all this wickedness has been allowed to thrive. And I think there was even, if you're a Bible-believing type of person, I think there's even a passage in the Bible that kind of points to this as well. The passage, if you're not a Bible-believing person, that's fine. Just hear me out. Hopefully I can get the right words to try to explain this, and I don't lose my train of thought. But, the passage in the Bible was, none shall enter the kingdom of heaven unless they be as little children. You see, inside of us, this is a really huge issue here. How do I get the right words here? Once upon a time, right? You and me and everybody else, we were just like innocent little kids, reading stories. Our mom tucked us into bed, maybe watching our cartoons. We went out and played when we had the time, when we weren't being force-fed into this societal brainwashing. We existed in a state as children that was a sort of a natural state. And I'd be willing to bet that any one of us, by the time we were probably, when we still had that natural love and play within us, that, we could have made shelter. We could have learned to grow food. If we could have, we could have fed ourselves. We could have found ways to clothe ourselves, to have shelter, and to live our lives out and to enjoy them, I think I started helping build a cabin in my friend's woods when I was we built like an actual cabin, We didn't finish the roof, but, or maybe he did, but, we did that in like a couple hours or a few hours. I don't remember how long. We cut the trees down and carved them out like Lincoln logs and stacked them up, and we had, a whole framework of a cabin, a framework for like a bunk beds inside of there, and we had built that, and it didn't even take us that long. I don't remember how many hours. Maybe it was all day. I'm just thinking, and I built all kinds of little forts and stuff. Just fun. Just having fun. Do you remember when the world had a sense of magic and wonder? Do you remember laughing and playing and dreaming big? Do you remember the sense of love and peace and I mean when I know that even when we were children we had forces that were trying to strip that away from us. That's what they've been trying to kill and destroy in all of us from a very young age. Is the essence of our true being, who we really are. You know? You seen the movie Hook, with Robin Williams? He's like this, I don't know, stern and, realist or, I don't know, stock investor or banker or some shit like that, super strict and all, bossing people around. You know what I'm talking about? And then he turns out that, like, when he was a kid, he was Peter Pan, And then he got back to the human world or whatever, and they just, like, that's what he turns into, We had to relearn. You had to relearn to love, to play. How many of us, at least those of us who are, older, we still grew up in a world where we were presented with, righteous, heroes and stuff, The valiant knight that slays the dragon, the King Arthur's court, defeating the evil Mordred or battling against the evil Mordred. You know what I'm saying? Like, all these stories that we were told. Even in, say, like, the comic books, we had our, And what this world has been doing systematically it's just been like what the dark forces in this world have been doing systematically is they've been trying to crush our spirit and strangle our inner child to death by forcing us to live in a world that is so inhospitable to our inner child that takes away our joy, our love, our peacefulness, our ability to just have fun and to be one with the innocence. That's what they've been trying to destroy, I mean, look at what they did to I mean, okay, I'm just gonna, go on a little, start listing things off here, right? I'll start with, like, what was more recently my favorite show, Supernatural, right? Sam and Dean Winchester, saving people, hunting things, the family business. They start out hunting monsters to rescue innocent people. And by the end of the story, well, first they're buddies with demons and monsters, and then the freaking Antichrist becomes God, and then they're dead. No more heroes, right? You see what I'm saying? Superman, dead. Batman, dead. Right? Iron Man, dead. Captain America, dead, right? Thor, fat, out of shape, slovenly, disgrace. And you could just go on and on and on with all the thing. And then what's promoted, right? What's put forward? Who are the new heroes? Vampires. Bloodthirsty, evil, demon creatures. Witches. Etc., etc., etc. You see what I'm saying? And the narrative everywhere that we're told everywhere is it. Yeah, do you remember when you were a kid, a belief that you held in your heart? Did you have this belief? Because I sure did. That good always conquers evil. Good will always win. Right will over always win out over wrong, and truth will always win out over lies. That's a deep seated belief that so many of us had held dear in our hearts. Right over wrong and good over evil, you know? But this world wanted to tell us, what's what, and twist us up in 1,000 different directions. Take away all the freedom that would have allowed us to live a life of peace. Just that to have the joy and to really enjoy the beauty of the world and in love in relationships. This is what they're stealing from us. What they're strangling out of us because ultimately that's what we are internally. We are that love, peace, that joy, that inner child that laughs and plays and is innocent. And they ain't having it. That's what they want. That's what they want. That's what they want gone, and that's what they're trying to hurt. You know. How many of us grew up wanting to be the hero? Are we truly surrounded by people that grew up wanting to be the villain? By monsters? Well, the unconscious, I believe, in so many people, even so many that are unconscious and have become dark, they may just be like, some of them might just be like, like Robin Williams in the movie Hook, right? Just kind of brainwashed, right? They've forgotten, the Peter Pan, you know, the the Prince Charming, the good and the innocence that's inside of them, and the play and the happiness, and that's what's being stolen from us. What's being pulverized and beaten down and down to the ground. Better that a millstone should be cast around their neck and they should be cast into the sea than to harm these little ones. But that's all of us, because that's the thing, man, I guess I've always noticed, I've always had, I've always kind of in part recognized something, when I see the innocence of a child or something. There's a part of me that recognizes and and that misses what I used who I used to be, you know? Because I used to be that little boy. I sat in a little tent in my room reading, R.L. Stein books, and I'd go get some weed trimmers and cut a path through big sticker bushes in the backyard, tunnels through it, and I'd go run around, and I had this whole long section on 3 acres, and it even went into the neighbor's yard because there was just still overgrown, sticker bushes and just weeds everywhere, and I cut a path straight through there, and it was like my own little magical tunnel. And I would run around out there, and then I would go over to my friends, and we would play war, and we'd run around the woods and play. I mean, in this world, the people who've grown up in this world have us believe that all this stuff, that all this is that's going on, that it's adulting, or whatever, this thing where you get all super serious and you have to go out and you know put in all these hours to do some menial task for some corporation or whatever, that this is the way things ought to be. Well, look at the world around us, the world that this very ideology has destroyed, versus a world that used to be a world that was, more natural and more glorious by over 1,000-fold the ugly, pasty, plain, bland, disgusting thing that they've built over top of the ruins of the beautiful world that once existed here before mankind was robbed of their eternal childhood, of their eternal innocence, robbed of their play, robbed of their love, you know? I mean, that's pretty much what it comes down to. That's what they've done to us. Stripped us of our belief, our hope, our innocent sense of wonderment, you know? Like, you gotta hold on to that spark inside of you for whatever is left, and let it be ablaze and shine bright to light up the darkness, you know? If there's one thing left, light up the darkness, man. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age can burn and rage. Read it on its way. Rage. Rage against the dying of the light. You know? I kind of have the thing memorized. I don't know if I can pull it right up in my mind right now, though. It would come out pretty damn slowly. Besides, I've lost track. I don't know. How we got to, That's what they're doing to us, and to our children, to the entire world, and to the older generations. That's what was done to them. It was passed down, and it's being amplified and amped up. And there are dark forces at work here, man. Very dark forces at work here. It's like God, what's that movie? Dang it, I always forget the name of that movie. Time, no, dang it. I don't know. There was some kind of Oprah remake of it. Something about it, something with a tesseract and the Mrs. Who's It, Mrs. What's It, and the It Force and all that kind of. I don't know. You could, whatever. The It Force, right? It's like this dark force encompassing about the planet, making us, taking away our laughter, taking away our innocence, causing us to argue and fight, to lose touch with the light within us that emanates from source, you know? You gotta find time whenever you can to do whatever you can to find that inner child within yourself, to hold that inner child precious, and seek their innocence to guide you. But they try so hard and do so much to make this world intolerable to that. To fill this world full of scary monsters and a monstrous way of life that makes that inner child and that innocence within us want to crawl and curl up into a ball and hide within, never to come out from the safety of their hiding place. We build walls around us. We build up anger and resentment and distrust and fear. And we're so full of pain. Where we have lost so much has been stolen from us in this place. Born, given the whole world, shown a world of beauty and wonders, and everything good and everything we hold dear is taken away. All our heroes slain before our eyes. But we mustn't forget what they taught us. And we mustn't forget what we knew intuitively. The great wisdom that's there within us. As a small child, when we sat around the living room floor and played with our little truck or whatever, right? There's a greater intelligence and a greater power with that in that innocence. Than all the monsters and all their monstrosities in the world. You gotta believe that. Wicked flee when none pursue, but the righteous are bold as a lion, you know? I mean, why is so much truth hidden from the people? Because the darkness flees from the light. The vampires burst into flames when the sun touches their skin. This world may not be real, a simulation or a construct of consciousness. There's dark forces trying to guide and steer the consciousness, you know? I don't know, you know, I'm torn between, you know, this sort of knowing of this sort of thing. The idea of, you know, believing the good ones over evil and so on. And that everything's gonna be all right. I'm torn between thinking, you know, that that's a good way to be, and between, you know, the logic that tells me that all the darkness in this world is allowed to flourish because people thinking happy thoughts are afraid to look at it. They've made it this way. The darkness in this world has made it that way. They want you afraid to look at the evil in the world and face up to it. Because you are the light. And when the light faces the darkness in mass, the darkness is burned to ashes. Gone. Right? So they want you to turn your back on it. That's kind of how I see it. It's a much more pleasant way to exist in a world like this. But it's getting so bad that the masses doing that is why it's like this. You know, people have been so indoctrinated, so inundated with this totally unnatural, totally false way of being. We've been filled with so much horror and terror that we just want to hide our head beneath the covers and hope the monster goes away, you know? But I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I used to be haunted. And now, you know, I'm been haunted again, right? It, you know, comes back, right? But when I was a kid, I used to have these night terrors, and I mean, I was literally haunted. Like there were some dark forces in that house that were messing with me, you know? Got to where, like, God, I think for, I don't know, maybe 6 months or a year or more, I don't know, some point when I was a kid, I was afraid to just sleep with the lights off. I would just leave the lights on all night and turn the radio on to drown out the noise of those things that were fucking messing with me, you know? And I was afraid to go out in the dark and, you know, so on and so forth. And but the day it kind of really stopped. Although I don't know, it's kind of conflicting, you know, because you kind of, I guess it's kind of like a middle ground. Like you've got to be able to hold on to that inner child, but you've also got to roar like a savage lion. You've got to be ready to face infinity without flinching. You've got to be ready to walk right up to those demons and spit in their fucking face and tell them to back the fuck off. You got to be ready to run, charge full steam ahead right towards that dragon, right towards that Balrog or whatever, you know? One night I went out. You know, these things are messing with me so much. And I was so sick of it. I couldn't take any more. And I was more pissed off than I was afraid, or I was more afraid not to face these bastards and tell them off than I was of what would happen if I did. And I walked out into the darkness. I walked down the driveway. We had this really long driveway, like, multiple football fields long. I walked way down that driveway in the dark, surrounded by all these thickets of trees around me. Just sensing the presence of, monsters all around as a little kid. And I shouted at the top of my lungs, "I'm not afraid of you!" Just started, like, threatening them and, like, "I'm gonna kick your ass," right? And it was that courage to walk out and face them, to face that darkness. And after that, I never needed to sleep with the lights on again. It's okay to be afraid. Everyone's afraid, but crazy people, And crazy people are crazy because they're so afraid that they built up this and made a beast of themselves to guard themselves from all that horror surrounding from the bad things that they feel like they have to be defensive all the time. That's what we find ourselves turning into. This world wants to make children into monsters. I just saw this movie on YouTube, and that's kind of what led me to think about this. It kind of brought out my inner child somewhat watching it, and the story of it. Watched. I didn't even remember that movie existed. Fantasia 3. There's a part 3 to Fantasia, apparently. But I mean, like, the storyline, I had these bullies called the Nasties, and the Nasties became this force that just, was destroying Fantasia, and then they got the amulet thing, and then they started destroying, like, the real world, and everyone was fighting with each other and being mean to each other and cold to each other, and it's some force like that that's overtaken us, that's overtaken this world. You gotta fight it. You gotta fight it. You've got you've got to not let your love grow cold. And love your children. Love the children of the future. And love that child within you, that child that you once were, that innocence. Remember that. Know it. Feel it. Because that's your heart, that's your soul, that's your spirit, that's your connection to source or God or whatever you want to make of it, right? That is what has got to be preserved here. Not all the rest of this bullshit, you know? And I can kind of understand now, kind of somewhat about it says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, against principalities and powers, rulers of spiritual wickedness in high places, right? About the idea of how you got to cast the mote out of your own eye. You must cast the mote out of thine own eye before you can see to cast the mote out of thine brother's eye, right? Something like that, right? It's and I'm not trying to church it up or something here with this, you know. I'm just saying I really think that in large part, if not in a whole, that the monsters in human skin are not born, they are created. You know, the darkness, there is a darkness that finds a home that hides within us all. Or if I gotta keep churching it up, I'll say, let he who is without sin cast the first stone, right? In this world, we're all wrapped up in all these false systems of coercion and control that have locked away innocence and goodness and love. And they really seem to be, suffocating, trying to suffocate us, trying to choke the very life and the very being, and to dim our light, to douse that fire within us. And we mustn't let it happen. We mustn't let them succeed. But we should be aware. And I mean, believe me, I get it, man. I find myself getting dragged into the darkness very frequently by the external world. I mean, it's a lot of it is like it's an energetic. I mean, we're surrounded by all these energies that are not our own, and you have to be able to. We kind of have to be able to isolate ourselves, right? I think everyone has to do this, right? I mean, anyone who's been able to get into like a, I don't know what people call a higher, people like to call it a higher vibrational state or whatever the heck. I think a lot of that stuff is fake, to be honest, but some of it's real, some of it's legit, right? In some instances, it's legit, and I think I've found, the legit sometimes from time to time. I don't manage to stay in that place for very long. Sometimes, I do. I get dragged back into darkness because we are in an energetic system in this world. We're surrounded by, energies external to us that will, misguide us and beat us down. It's like a, if within us there grows a flame, they take away our oxygen. Or we've got to break through the wall, break down the fucking wall, bust the windows, do whatever it takes to catch a breath so that light inside us, that fire inside us can breathe and spread like a wildfire. Gotta try, you know. But it's hard, and it's definitely, this place is very soul crushing, The pain, especially for those in poverty, who are, most. I got to be honest. I mean, from what I could see, it looks like very, very abundantly clear to me that the people, most of the people who are truly conscious, I mean, we are the targeted individuals. We are the uh, conscious, surrounded by the unconscious that seek to beat us down, stifle us, and suffocate our flame, you know? And that's what we're dealing with here, man, you know? And it hurts. It does. It is very soul crushing, the things they do. So hard, to think, imagine all the good you could do with, like, say, $1 billion or something, right? But you can barely keep a roof over your head if you can even manage that. They steal our lives from us. They steal our time. They steal all of our resources that we should have had. With a system of money that isn't money. It's based in debt. We don't know how to operate here, because it's all based in. It's all it's all debt based, it's all illusory, it's all fake, so we don't know how to operate in a fake, we don't know how to operate in a fake world surrounded by fake people and fake concepts and right. Things just don't work like they're supposed to here, things are all messed up, but I'm just saying, that's I think ultimately what's going on here is that's what this world wants to destroy: innocence. Or if you say it like the innocence, innocence, right? And you see the movie Legend, or the darkness. It's like, yeah, have eternal night. And there's like goblins out fucking onto like cut the unit, kill the unicorns and freaking, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of what's going on here, basically. It's like, but then they, hook up a bunch of mirrors to bring the light of the sun in, and the darkness is like, no, right? And it's an innocent boy, Jack, who defeats the darkness. You see, that's it. I really think, that's it. Ultimately, I mean, we all have so much pain, so much trauma. We walk around like an open wound. We cover our wounds over, we scab over and become hard hearted. The defense mechanism to protect ourselves from the harshness of the world. And in doing so, we become that harshness. We become that ugliness. Perhaps that's the greatest injury. The absolute worst abuse you could ever do to a child is to make them an adult. Hey, that's adulting. Are you mad they stole your innocence? You should be. hurts. God, I know it hurts. it's it's goofy as hell, the pain we carry around inside of us. We bottle up. I was watching this ridiculous, you know, just ridiculous scene, from this like old children's movie, Fantasia 3 or whatever, right? Where there's this giant rock monster mom that's like rocking the crib and crying because her baby's gone. My baby, And I was thinking how ridiculous it was. But then seeing a portrayal of the love of a mother, I almost teared up, missing my own mom. And missing the time when I was a child and she would tuck me in. Or read me a story or sing to me. You know? That pain that we carry around for all these horrors that we've had to endure. We've got to find a way to heal and not to harden our hearts. Darkness, that evil, that destructive nature, that anger, that hate, that fear, that lust, that vengeance, that greed and envy, that darkness that's out to devour us and destroy the entire world, that wicked force. We fear it's out to destroy us or to kill us, but it's not death. It's not the death of the body that we should fear. No, but the death of that innocence within us, because it doesn't seek to kill us. It wants to turn us into it. You see, it wants to snuff out our light and turn us into a bunch of cold-hearted, rigid, obedient, mindless, servile, wicked, uncaring, unloving, sociopathic little fucking demon fuckwits like it, by snuffing out our light, by making us fear and hate, by taking things away from us. But that's another one of the tricks of the darkness. is attachment to material possessions. And I mean, it's hard for me too, but I recognize it. I recognize that. There's this scene. You ever seen the movie Labyrinth? It's like a Muppet movie. Remember that? Labyrinth. You remember this scene where the girl eats like the poison apple or whatever, and then she's inside this room that looks like her bedroom, and there's this like evil witch Muppet that's like, oh look, and all her favorite things that she'd lost over the years were there, you know. Oh, look, it's your favorite mirror. You like that? Oh, look, it's your dolly. You remember your dolly? Oh, it's your favorite dolly. You love your dolly. Like to distract her. You know, to draw her attention towards things that don't matter, so that she forgets about saving the innocence of her baby brother, about rescuing him from the Goblin King who wanted to turn him into a goblin. You see? Like, that's what's going on here, man. That's basically what's going on here. They entice and intimidate and but it's all trying. Their goal is to turn us into them. You see, but at some point, you see that innocence that still exists inside us. At some point, that spark was within them. That's why they hate us. Because we have the most precious thing, the thing that they let slip away, the thing that they forgot all about, but deep inside, it drives them mad. And they feel that they can never, ever get it back. Never get it back. That's not true. At least I hope it's not. The same way, I mean, I think everybody can think back, think back to your happiest moments in childhood, the most joy you ever felt, the hardest you ever laughed, you know, a time when you felt safe, if you ever had that. And if you didn't, I'm sorry. You must have had some place, somewhere, something, someone. And so we miss all these things. We miss all these things, and other people and so on and so forth. But I believe that they're out there waiting for us to remember who we are, waiting for us to realize that thing we've lost, that we miss the most of all, is that innocent child that we once were. And all that love and all that innocence and all that inside of us that was untainted. Those of us that are filthy, made filthy by living in a filthy world and being covered in the filth of it, missing a time when we were clean, you know. But that's still in there. Gotta find it. You gotta nurture it. And you gotta believe in it. You've gotta stand up for it. Now, I don't know what necessarily the real story is. Here I think people are told a whole lot of different stories and a whole lot of different narratives. There's one thing I've noticed about this place is that it's a riddle wrapped in an enigma. The greatest truth are buried in the biggest truths are buried in a big pile of lies, and the biggest lies are wrapped in a whole bunch of truth. You know, you just got to be able to, freaking Jeet Kune Do that shit. Keep what is useful, disregard that which is useless. And moving be like water, right? Still, whatever, dude. You gotta respond like an echo. Just say you've got. I don't know, man. I can't bring myself to just adhere to or blindly believe in any one specific storyline because the book over here says this and the book over there says that and this book says this person says that, this person says it's this and they say it's that. I think ultimately it comes down to like just concepts, No, I mean seriously, man. And what I'm talking about is the innocence within you, that inner child, that If you want to talk, you want to take it on to a Christian outlook on it. Well, he who is within you is greater than he who is in the world, right? This world is false. This world may have blinded us to the truth. The human spirit is corrupted. Why do we worship greed? Because outside the limit of our sight, feeding off us, perched on top of us from birth to death, are our owners. Our owners, they're all about you, all around you. They are our masters. Wake up, you know? Again, they live, preacher speech there, right? Just you gotta try not to lose touch with that spark, that innocence, that light within, that sense of wonder, the love. And I know it's hard. It's so hard because there's so many distractions, so many things laid out to take away our time, to take away our peace. So many things that are foisted upon us and done to us to abuse that inner child, to abuse that light within. It's surrounded in darkness. Light up the darkness.